Dear. Hello, I'm Rhoda Castle and I'm the module leader for Social Problems and Social Policy 2. Now, for those of you that haven't met me before, I've worked for some years now at the university, and I teach on both this course and on the social work degree, and my particular teaching areas are social policy, research methods and disability issues. Now, about this module, we're hoping with this module that it's going to build on what people have already done. A lot of you will have done Social Policy and Social Problems 1, or else some other social policy course taught at the university. So we're hoping to build on that, first of all by introducing some new topics. And the main topics in this module are going to be ethnic relations, crime and deviance, education and health. So those are all things that we didn't do in Social Policy and Social Problems 1. So I've carved up the book list for this module so that it's divided up in terms of those 4 topics, because I know sort of previous years people have had to trawl through the whole list and to find things about the different topics, and I also wanted to be sure that there was a reasonable number of books there about each of those 4 things. And if we're on the subject of books, you can also use books that you may have got hold of for Social Policy and Social Problems 1 as well. Now, the particular focus on this module, apart from those 4 topics themselves, are that I want to look at some topical issues, things that are perhaps in the news at the minute. And there are a couple of things particularly that are always newsworthy, and one of those is multiculturalism, which often comes up in discussions about policy. And the other is social mobility, which is a bit of a buzz topic at the moment. This has been in the news quite a lot over the past few months, and there's been government reports about social mobility. Alan Milburn has been asked to head up a commission on social mobility, and he's just reported back in terms of social mobility and access to the professions. So there's a lot that's around about that topic at the minute, and it's the first time that I've introduced that into this particular module, but I think you'll find it quite easy to find things on newspaper websites where there's some actually quite thoughtful articles about this topic, and also on government websites. There's been a white paper. Alan Milburn's commission has also reported. There's also a report from LSE on social mobility. There's loads of stuff out there. So that's one sort of topical recent issue that I've included. Another one is in connection with health. Fairly recently, there was a new book published called The Spirit Level that attracted quite a lot of attention in the press. And so I've sort of added that to the reading list. And, that is very relevant to the title in the assignment guidelines on health. So, moving on, I've also tried in this module to have a focus on particular academic concepts and issues in the assignment titles. Now, this actually isn't as scary as it sounds, because often it gives you a focus for your assignment, and you know much more clearly sort of what you should be reading and what you should be including. And an example of that is in the assignment title about ethnic relations. I've talked about the concept of moral panics, and that actually gives you a bit of a pointer as to some of the things that I might want you to include in the assignment, and it also points you towards some literature. The other example of that is in the assignment that's about crime and deviance, I've asked particularly about feminist perspectives. So that again would give you a particular focus. So, although it might actually sound a bit more demanding and a bit stretching, it can actually be quite helpful because you know what you're expected to write about. So when we're looking at the assignments, really we should be looking for some similar things to last time. We want you to include some evidence of what you're saying, and also some knowledge of theory, and relating to policy as well. All these are topics that have had some recent policy developments. And very importantly, we want you to relate each of these titles to your own experience. Now, for a lot of you, that might mean your experience as advice workers. But for some of you, it may be some other form of experience. You may have experience in another line of work, or you might be able to relate it to some sort of non-professional experience that you've had in life, which is nonetheless relevant to the title. But we're hoping to sort of encourage a bit of sort of reflective practice by getting people to make a link between experience and the titles. Lastly, while we're on the subject of the assignments, can I just mention referencing? We'd like you to use the Harvard method of referencing. This is the method that's most usually required in the social sciences, and probably will be required sort of if you go on to take further courses after this. And there is quite a useful link in the module to a website which tells you all about Harvard referencing. The particular document that you need to click on is called Quote Unquote, and that is something that's produced by Leeds Met University. Right, so the very basic things about the module, it starts on the 23rd of November and it goes right across the Christmas and New Year period and finishes on the 25th of January when you submit your assignment. But I can tell you that I shall not be working Christmas week, and I certainly don't expect other people to. So the total length of this module is longer than 8 weeks to allow people to have a bit of time off over Christmas. I would hate to think of people actually working on their assignment during Christmas week. I think that's too much to ask. So lastly, please use the discussion forums to share ideas with each other, and also keep in touch with me. You can do that sort of more generally on the discussion forums or by emailing me or phoning me individually. I've already heard from 1 or 2 people by email with some individual inquiries, and I've noticed that people have logged on and 1 or 2 people have put messages on the first discussion forum. It's good to see that you've got started, and just keep in touch. It's also nice to see that there's some familiar names on the module, people that I've come across before, and also some new names. So I look forward to working with you and also learning from my point of view, doing some learning about the sort of work that you do and how all the issues that we've talked about in the module are played out sort of in your workplaces. So I think that's about all I've got to say now. But do keep in touch, and if there are things that I've not covered and that you can't find on Blackboard, do get in touch with me and ask me. And I look forward very much to working with all of you.